Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our final day of Experience Analytics virtual series. Happy Friday to you all. Happy Friday, Andy.
Happy Friday, Nat, and I can't believe we're at the end of the journey, almost.
Yeah, indeed. Last session today. It's been a fantastic week. We've had lots of great client content, some fantastic inputs from our analytics partners, and lots of great questions coming from our audience. If you have missed any of the sessions this week, they will be available to stream on our website later tonight. Now, on to our final session. What's on the agenda for Friday?
For our last episode, we're going to explore the world of self-service and real-time analytics. How to put the insight and the decision at the hand of the user at the point of need. We're going to hear from Chris from Just Eat and Spencer from ThoughtSpot on the work that they've been doing together. But first, we're going to hear from Will from Deloitte. Will, over to you.
Thanks, Andy and Nat. Hi, I'm Will Pickard. I'm an analytics professional at Deloitte. And we're all striving to make the right decisions, but in order to do this, we need the right information and insight to base our decision making on. We have seen an explosion of data in recent years, and our challenge now is how do we convert the vast amount of data into actionable insight to inform better decision making. The democratization of insight across organizations is something virtually all of us are trying to achieve. And it's something that is becoming easier as new technology is enabling us to extract, process, aggregate, forecast, and visualize our data much better. Moreover, we've seen a number of organizations look to take democratization to the next level and move into data monetization. The latest tooling allows us to use our data as an asset by providing both descriptive but also prescriptive insights to third-party suppliers, partners, and even your end customers. However, enabling self-serve insight, there are a number of challenges and things to consider. Firstly, we need to be surfacing the most relevant insight. Designing your analytical product with the end user in mind will ensure you are answering the right questions. Working with end users within workshops, design sessions is key to ensuring we're surfacing the right insights. But secondly, ensuring it will embed within the existing business processes is key. For example, a retailer I'm working with will often have daily reviews of the sales figures. These daily sales meetings will often have the same questions being asked, and therefore we sat in on these meetings to understand the source of questions and also how they're using the existing reports so we can build something much more relevant and embedded within their existing meeting. Secondly, we need to be more impactful. We have less and less time to make decisions, and therefore ensuring the insight is visualized in a way that is accessible, easy to understand, and take action on is key. For example, an e-commerce retailer I'm working with developed a design guide for all dashboards built around the user. This was to ensure that the dashboards were similar to navigating a web page. And it included having the headline KPIs at the top of each dashboard, ensuring that performance was easy to see at a glance. And therefore, making these as bite-sized and digestible as possible, we can improve uptake from the user. Furthermore, we can use machine learning to help not only uncover insight, but also enhance decision-making further by acting as decision support for end users by providing prescriptive insights. An example of this is an online marketplace who built a next best action engine to select relevant insights and actions for their account managers to take with their sellers on the platform. This saw a 4 times better outcome versus those account managers without the prescriptive insights. Thirdly, we need to make sure that insight is trustworthy. Having robust data governance processes to ensure that data is accurate and reliable is key to enabling self-serve. One of the key steps I've seen organizations take is standardizing the definition and logic to calculate KPIs. This sounds really simple, but it actually ensured that the business teams are all singing off the same hymn sheet when in meetings. I think the next step on this is actually to educate the business users into the data and the logic behind each KPI and to ensure that they understand and trust the insight being provided. Finally, we need to ensure that self-serve tools allow flexibility. Even dashboards built in visualization software are often built for a specific purpose and use case. And therefore, we can't answer all questions within these. The case study today is a great example of this as it uses NLP to enable business users to get insight through search, making your database a bit like Google. This can be very useful to answer ad hoc questions that aren't going to be answered through standardized reporting. So, in summary, to successfully enable self-serve in your business, we have to consider that the products that we deliver are relevant, impactful, and flexible. Thank you. And now back to Andy and Nat.
Thanks, Will. That was really insightful. And the key takeaway for me in that was around making sure you bring the business along during the design journey. Now, for our final episode. Before we hear from Chris and Spencer, here's a short video to introduce ThoughtSpot.
Companies today are sitting on massive piles of data. Storing it has gotten a lot easier. But getting insights into the hands of employees on the front lines? That's a different story. It usually requires an army of experts to prepare the data, then build reports and dashboards. It can take weeks, even months. Who has the time? You need insight now. What if there was a better way, where analytics was as easy as your favorite app, where anyone who can search or get recommendations can get insights 1,000 times faster from their data? Hello, ThoughtSpot. With ThoughtSpot, you can use search to analyze campaigns, sales, supply chain, or customers, and even get answers to questions you didn't think to ask. ThoughtSpot's AI-driven insights gives you analytical superpowers, automatically analyzing what changed, and better yet, why, all in seconds. You can follow key metrics and get alerts to take action in the moment. Whether you're on the move, in a meeting, or about to meet a new customer, you always have access to insights wherever you go, even when you're offline. You can also easily shape your own data stories. Make charts in seconds, rearrange them, share them, and even present your findings on the big screen. With ThoughtSpot, every visualization is live. You can drill anywhere. And say goodbye to predefined drill paths. Even lean on AI to help you explore new insights. With ThoughtSpot, it's easy to search across all your company data. You can connect to and directly query your data where it lives. Best of all, ThoughtSpot can handle complex schemas without pre-aggregating your data, answering complex business questions in seconds from billions of rows of data. All with built-in enterprise-class governance and security, trusted by the world's best companies. Whether you want to deploy ThoughtSpot Cloud as a fully managed SaaS solution or ThoughtSpot software in your own virtual private cloud, we've got you covered. Get insights at the speed of thought with ThoughtSpot.
Excellent. Thanks, Andy, and thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday the 13th. I'm Spencer Tuttle, and I run Europe for ThoughtSpot. Over the next couple minutes, our goal is to quickly introduce you to ThoughtSpot for those that may not know us, talk about what differentiates us in the market and the problem that we're solving, and then most importantly, I'm going to hand it over to a long-term customer of ours in Just Eat, and Chris is going to talk to you about how he leverages our solution to differentiate themselves in the market and better service their customers. So really quick, who is ThoughtSpot? And what are we doing in the market? We're a software company that's about 9 years old, and we've pioneered search and AI analytics to help organizations get insights to non-data savvy folks within their organization so they can better their role and responsibility. We've done that through two very unique solutions within our software. First and foremost is search. We've come to the conclusion that search is the best way to drive insights because it's what we use every day in our consumer world, whether it be Google, whether it be YouTube, Uber, or even Just Eat. That's what we're familiar with. So why can't we get that in the enterprise? We pioneered a very unique search solution that can scale over hundreds of terabytes of data and quickly, at the speed of what you're used to, drive that insight to you, no matter what you're looking for. What else we've learned, though, is across the complex, very large data sets within the enterprise, sometimes you don't even know what to search for. And that's why we've developed our AI solution that we call Spot IQ. We run algorithms and ask questions of your data so that we can bubble up insights that you may not have even thought to search for, so that you can become aware of risks in your business or changes that may be happening within your organization and react to it quickly in the speed that you need to in today's world. So who's our customer base? We really focus on the mid to large enterprise organizations, but anyone that's looking to leverage data within their organization to become more competitive. Obviously, we're going to introduce you to Just Eat here in a few minutes, but across Europe, we have customers from Nationwide and RBS and Siemens and Daimler and more. Finally, let's talk about a couple of our, what makes us unique in the market. First, we've been a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for the last 2 years. What's really important about that is it only took us 6 years to get into the leader category, the earliest entrant into the BI analytics quadrant within Gartner ever. Secondly, is we're the first new player in that space in 9 years, showing that this is a prime market to get disrupted for the enterprise consumers. So let's talk about the problem that we're solving in the market. Obviously, over the last decade, the data management space has advanced dramatically. We've gone from your traditional databases to your data lakes to most recently your cloud data warehouses like your Redshifts, your BigQueries, and for anyone that's followed Wall Street the last couple of weeks, your Snowflakes. So the enterprise organizations know that data is the new oil, and they're spending a lot of time, resources to get the data in a prime space in the cloud so that it can be used. But even with that, Forrester's saying 67% of the data goes unused for analytics. That's an incredible stat. So let's talk about what else is going on in the market. We just talked about how dramatically the data management space has advanced over the last decade with the new cloud data warehouses disrupting that space. The problem is the BI space hasn't kept up. If you look at it, in 2009, there was 24% adoption across your traditional BI software vendors in the market. In 10 years, that's only gone up to 35%. That's a crime. In today's world, your enterprise software needs to be as easy to use as your consumer software. And organizations need to look at adoption as a key metric for driving value within your organization. So again, what are we doing within the market? We're self-driving analytics. What that means is we're getting analytics to the non-data savvy folks so that they can drive insights to better their role and responsibility. How are we doing it? We're doing it through 3 ways. It's simple. Search is what we're used to. We have an interface that is very consumer friendly so that you can use it, you can come back to it, and you don't need to be a data expert to be able to drive insights from it. Secondly, it's incredibly smart. We drive insights that are for you and your role and responsibility. We ask tens of thousands of questions of your data so that we can bubble up insights that you wouldn't have even thought to search for within your data. And finally, we're fast. We scale over hundreds of terabytes of data. We do it in consumer-like search speed so that folks can get their insight, get on with their role and responsibility, and not live in their BI and analytics solution for the entire day. That's what ThoughtSpot's doing in the market. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we're doing. But most importantly, I'd love to introduce you to Chris Curtis from Just Eat so that he can walk you through what he's doing with ThoughtSpot within his organization. Chris, thanks for coming and walking us through this.
Thanks for that, Spencer. Hi, my name's Chris Curtis, and I've been at JustEatTakeaway.com for 4 years. My role as Senior Analytics Manager for Data Visualization is all about taking data out of data, to deliver global data products to facilitate understanding and to inform decision-making across Just Eat. Through the use of consistent design and good quality data, we build trust in our products and focus our users on making data easily discoverable and accessible. We support data delivery by communicating and educating, converting data into innovative and ergonomic visualizations, ensuring that the platforms that we use are reliable and trustworthy. We want to be the vital bridge between data, people, and decision-making. We're taking the data out of data every day. So just to cover off some housekeeping, a little bit about Just Eat. Some people may have already heard of Just Eat. Other people may know takeaway.com. If you weren't aware, both companies joined forces earlier this year to become Just Eat takeaway.com, one of the largest online food delivery marketplaces. But a lot of you are probably wondering, what does that even mean? So hopefully this fancy little diagram can help explain what it is we do. We have restaurants and we have customers. We send orders to restaurants, they cook them, and they deliver them. Our customers search for the food or restaurant they want, they order and pay, and then they eat. We connect hungry customers with the restaurant and food that they love. One of the key things that I learned while our previous Chief Data Officer, Alberto Rey Villaverde, was at Just Eat, was how he was able to explain to the business how to extract value from data. He shared his simplified data model with the team, which formed the foundation of what we do: access, transform, and deliver. And when you think about it, it's actually really simple. We ingest data from different systems, we transform it and shape it to become usable, and then we deliver it back to the business. It's all well and good saying that we need to deliver data to the business, but just like a restaurant, everyone has different tastes. And I think at this stage, it's important to understand that the word data means different things to different people. For someone in marketing, data might mean email lists for campaigns or aggregated customer cohorts. Data might mean trended orders for someone in sales. But for someone in engineering or technology, data might mean something completely different. So let's just focus on a traditional business user. Data to them might mean reporting or dashboards. So how do we deliver this data to them? Many organizations maintain a very standard model where requests for data, reports, are collated, prioritized, developed, and then delivered. The request is submitted to a central BI team. A BI or analytics team produce the data product based on that request, and that output is delivered back to the stakeholders in a specific format. It could be a report, it could be a dashboard, it could be slide decks, it could be a spreadsheet. That information is then interpreted and a decision is made, or that information generates more questions, and that process has to be repeated all over again. So this model typically suits a very specific audience. And what we've seen at Just Eat is this traditional approach is no longer appropriate to meet the demands of a data-hungry organization. The cycle cannot scale without increased resource and a proper process to manage that demand. So the traditional request and deliver model can be limited by the following factors. It often needs additional resources and processes just to manage that workflow. It's very much dependent on analyst resource, which usually requires specific skill set to obtain the information. Everything is always urgent. How do these competing requests, which are all considered important, how are they prioritized and then managed through the workflow? Hard to scale. Delivery will always be constrained on more requests that are being generated. And then how do you actually determine if you're adding value? Questions can sometimes lack focus and not be always aligned to the business objectives. So at Just Eat, we underwent a transformation around 3 years ago, and we were set up in this traditional model I just discussed. We had lots of requests coming in to our BI team. The business was growing fast, and so were the questions that were being asked from data. We simply couldn't keep up with the demand. And it started to impact our reputation. And much like when someone orders a takeaway that's not good, they take their business elsewhere. So we risk people finding their own data, or worse yet, making decisions without data informing them. As my role evolved, we looked to solve this problem by addressing how we were delivering data to the business. And I proposed this concept called a data delivery spectrum, in which data needs to be delivered to the business to suit the stakeholders that it's being shared with. So our solution was to start to incorporate self-service analytics as part of our data delivery process. To solve these issues, we set out to change the way that we're delivering the data to the business. And we wanted to focus on getting people the right data at the right time. I like to refer to this process as controlled self-serve, where users obtain information and insight from data independently. It's controlled because the data that is provided is managed from the central data team. It's cleaned and it's updated, and we know where it comes from. So this goes back to my earlier philosophy about being the vital bridge between data, people, and decision making. So why would you want to do this? The main reasons we adopted this self-service approach were to help protect our analyst resource, as we wanted to reduce the volume of requests coming into our analysts. We wanted to help people get answers, removing the barriers for people to answer questions without having to engage with an analyst. We wanted to make this process faster instead of having to wait, so improve that customer satisfaction with the business by removing unwanted delays. And we wanted to get people to talk more about business problems and not just come asking for all the data. So focus these questions into clearer areas and allow more meaningful conversations between the business and the data team, letting the domain experts use the data to explain the problems they had the background knowledge of. With our adoption of a self-service analytics program, we were able to achieve success in some key areas. Our finance and sales teams were previously very big stakeholders, and they had lots of requests of data coming into us on a range of topics. So self-service allowed them to answer these questions easily without the need of direct analytical support. And for a small team of 3 analysts, reducing the volume of requests from 20 plus stakeholders made a big difference. However, we discovered a few concerns when we engaged them to find out more about how they were using our self-service program. And the problem they were trying to solve was to create reports for all the different brands that they were looking after with the Just Eat platform, and then send that information to the brands. So through our self-service analytics, we enabled this whole new use case, but at the same time, it also created some challenges around what we needed to solve. And we found there were some issues around the duplication and consistency of metrics, as several different users were creating reports and sending them out. There was some worries about security and governance that we needed to improve. There was not really any support or training program about this new data proposition, as it wasn't properly resourced or supported. And scale quickly grew. So more and more salespeople and teams saw the value in giving this data to the strategic brands. So we realized that there was a huge opportunity here to build on the success of our self-service program, but also to incorporate the commercial need and proposition. So we spent some time looking across all the visualization software space, and ThoughtSpot was really strong in some of the key features that we were looking for. The ability to handle large data sets, to be able to distribute this information automatically using email subscriptions, a system which was very easy to use for our main audience with a limited technical skill set, and strong security features, including row-level security, not to mention a fast-performing system. In January 2019, we officially launched Just Data, our strategic brand reporting solution, powered by ThoughtSpot. Starting with 2 brand partners, we received feedback and we made iteration and changes to our data. We created some supporting training materials, and in just over 2 years, we now have over 90 different restaurant brands and 4 countries using Just Data. So ThoughtSpot allowed us to create a global standardized reporting system for our strategic brands. It's one that empowers our commercial and brand partners to make informed decisions from data, provided in a reliable system that is quick and easy to use. Ultimately, it's helping both businesses grow through increased orders across our different strategic partners. And we set out to achieve 3 main goals. The first was to create efficiency, the second was to add value, and the third was to allow brands to evaluate the partnership. Efficiency is all about saving time, stopping people from doing things which included duplication of effort from analysts in different countries, all creating reports for the same brand, removing manual tasks from the account managers, and they were previously copying and pasting data into Excel spreadsheets and then emailing it out to their brands. And this was estimated at taking around 5 to 6 hours per week per person. We wanted to make it easier for the account manager to obtain knowledge on their accounts, what was going well, what wasn't going so well. And then allowing our tech and product teams to focus on the product improvements for those restaurant brands to allow them to manage their business. One of the key ways that we improved this efficiency was by creating a data product in the form of a data model for all brand reporting. This populated one templated pinboard in which all users, both internal and external, were able to use safely because of the row-level security. And this meant that anytime a change request came through, we only had to make one change to the master pinboard rather than making changes to several reports for each brand, managing one source of truth. This then allowed our account managers to set up automated subscriptions of this key brand report and send them to their accounts, removing their weekly copy and paste exercise, which was taking up a lot of their time. So we also wanted Just Data to add value to our brands. Data was quickly becoming a normal proposition across all the food platforms. Lots of brands previously operated their quick service restaurant models, where customers walked into their restaurants, placed an order, and they either ate in or they took their meals back home. Every business wants to grow, and adding a delivery service through these platforms forms a way for these brands to grow a new channel. Once the brands are on the platform, they then want to know how they're performing. They need to be able to understand if this new channel is working as a way to grow their business. As tough as it sounds for the account managers, we realized the reason these brands wanted data was to understand if being on the Just Eat platform was viable for them. We wanted to allow the restaurant partner to evaluate the business decision to join the Just Eat platform. Why would you want to do this? Well, the first reason was to reaffirm that it's a partnership, that we're looking to grow both businesses. It's in both our interest to understand performance trends and to take actions when needed. And the second was to establish trust through transparency. We didn't want to pretend that everything was fine if it wasn't. Anytime a customer had a late meal or a cold meal, it increased the risk of them not using our brand anymore. And by identifying issues through data, the account managers can then raise their concerns with the brand as they are responsible for the quality of the products. And this can go right down to an individual store who is not giving the best service. And their customers, we can take steps to identify this and then drive actions to improve our customer satisfaction. So that's how we successfully deployed a self-service analytics model using ThoughtSpot to our strategic brand partners. Along with the benefits seen from a self-service model, the software has shown that it offers other benefits. And running a program like this and deploying ThoughtSpot to hundreds of users has allowed me to see the flexibility of how ThoughtSpot can be used across a wide audience. There are options which suit all types of users. From a traditional user who may just want to receive a report emailed to them on a weekly or monthly basis, to the more data-curious people who want to explore and ask their own data questions. This flexibility allows a solution to be suitable for a very diverse user base. For me, the biggest success is not about the usage metrics and pinboards being created. Yeah, sure, that's good, but it's about how the conversations have changed between our sales teams and the brands. ThoughtSpot and Just Data has led to a shift in how our team works with brands. Instead of difficult conversations on a weekly or monthly basis about performance, both sides are aware exactly what the current situation is, and more importantly, why. This means the discussion is less about what happened, like why sales are down, and more about the problem solving and ideas to improve sales. Data is focusing the conversation. A business review looks more like a decision tree. Rather than dwelling on a chart in a presentation, The questions are we generating enough orders via the Just Eat platform to justify the partnership? Yes, we are. Well, where can we grow more? What are the best and worst performing stores? Why? What can we do to make the worst stores more like the good stores? And what do our service levels look like? What are the order ratings? And if orders aren't actually where we want them to be, why are they not great? What can we do to improve this? Are orders being rejected by restaurants? What stores are doing this? Should we actually then continue on with the partnership? We've seen some very real success in our use case. ThoughtSpot and Just Eat have an aligned data vision in making data accessible to all. It complements our existing solutions by solving the problem of delivering data to a wide and diverse audience. It takes the pressure off our Tableau deployment and also our analysts. It's proved very easy to scale into other markets, not just for the UK, supported by the strong security and governance functionality. Just Data and ThoughtSpot has become an important element for our commercial proposition with our restaurant partners. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Natalie and Andy.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks, Spencer and Will, as well. Really interesting presentations and really good to hear what you're up to, especially as I'm a Just Eat customer myself. Okay, so let's move on to a couple of questions. We've had a few come in. I'll just take a look. Okay, let's start with a bit of a technical one. Spencer, more aimed at you, I think. So what really is the difference between ThoughtSpot and other technologies that are accessing the cloud out there? What are some of the critical differences with what you're offering?
Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks. If you think about what I talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation, Forrester came out and said over 65% of data in the enterprise isn't used for analytics. So it's still going unused in today's market. If you think about historically what ThoughtSpot's been built for, it's been built for search and speed at scale. And what that means is, we can search over an incredible amount of data and get granular level insights back at consumer speed. What's happened in the cloud data warehouse market is folks have put a lot of data into those cloud data warehouses because they're affordable, because they're easy to use, and they can scale at the end of the day. So our functionality just has been purposely built for those cloud data warehouses. You're able to put a lot of users on ThoughtSpot, you're able to ask a lot of different ad hoc questions, and you're still able to get those granular level insights back across an incredible amount of data that's sitting in those cloud data warehouses at scale. So it goes down to speed, it goes down to scalability, and it goes down to giving access to a lot of different data sets, and ThoughtSpot and the cloud data warehouses just map really nicely to those use cases.
So just to add on that, Spencer, yeah, I think I definitely agree with the scalability within the cloud environment. We host our data and we host our infrastructure in the cloud. So that ability to scale when needed is hugely important to us. And it helps support my vision for data democratization to allow our business to be able to adapt at speed.
Thanks for the insights to that question. Just looking down the list of what's coming in now, there's a lot to do around agility and meeting the needs of the real-time users. So how do you build that agility into the solution to cater for the changing needs that the consumers are going to have?
It's a big question, that one.
That's why you're answering it, Chris.
For me, I think, I guess this comes down to two things, the use case and the implementation and architecture process. For us, I think we invested a bit of time in terms of that whole creating the data model. There definitely is a need to be agile, to be able to handle new requests for data. And I think if you plan and prepare that well, the new requirements can be handled easily, but still making sure that there's a resource that is available to be able to handle those kind of the changes and the needs for what's going to come their way for the consumers.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Chris. I think from the ThoughtSpot specific perspective, that data model is critical, right? And making sure that that's built. Once that's built, what ThoughtSpot's able to do is, go anywhere within that data model by asking any question. And those questions change over kind of time and kind of the course of a business or the course of kind of where we are. We were speaking to a senior executive at a customer of ours at the beginning of COVID, and they said something that was pretty amazing. He said, hey, he'd been a senior executive at this company for about 20 years. He said, I'm being asked questions now that have never been asked before at this organization. So where ThoughtSpot's able to help in that is be able to drill down and get insights into that data model now that the questions are changing, because we're not locked to static dashboards, but able to use search to get to those insights once you have a intelligent data model built.
I think one of the key challenges in this space as we build forward is actually understanding the context of why the person is asking the question or what they are actually asking, and the language that is being used. I think one of the challenges, you look at Google investing heavily in this space to understand how humans use language, and so that the computers can actually understand that language and identify the right answers to the question, which I think is one of the great examples of what ThoughtSpot can do. I think overall it's around human-centered design and ensuring the solutions that we build are centered upon the human and the user's experience rather than necessarily the data itself. I just wanted to add on that is definitely one of the key reasons is also where do these systems live? Who looks after them? And I think when you have these type of systems living within like a more traditional like IT sense, then they're not constantly supported. They're sort of managed and they're sort of it's working for everyone, but they're not sort of continually improved and innovated and updated for the needs of the business. And that's where I think when you have these type of products living within a data organization, there's definitely probably a more direct approach to making sure that the tools being used and the values being extracted from them.
Thanks for that. But just building on those points there, I'm keen to understand, given the nature of data or the amount of data that everyone will have access to, how are we going to avoid analysis paralysis in this type of situation? Is there any thoughts you may have on that?
I could come in on this. I think if you look at digital marketing at the moment and the world of social media, we are hit by ads and information at any point. And I think I saw a stat that users' attention spans have actually dropped from like 15 seconds to 8 seconds now. So everything that you need to do is impactful, make sure the insight is impactful and almost bite-sized so people can really understand it easily. And I think another thing from my perspective is relevancy. So previously in old world, well, not even old world, 3 or 4 years ago when we had dashboards, they were built for specific purposes with a specific goal in mind, but it left the users still asking more questions and still having to go to an insights team to get answers. And I think now these tools that we're getting to see is actually putting the answers in the hands of the user, so they can ask the right questions that they want. I mean, example is at a retail client that I'm working with, they were looking to understand, the promotions every week, how they were performing versus a specific period last year that they ran the same promotion. And that isn't built in a specific dashboard. That's not that's a daily operational question that they're asking. And I think that's where these new tools are actually heading towards and allowing people to really self-serve at scale. Yeah, I touched on this in my talk earlier, where I mentioned that I like to think of self-service as controlled self-service, because the data that is going into these type of tools and platforms is curated and governed by the data function. So there's still a responsibility from the BI or data function to keep that focus on the business, making sure that they're using the data effectively, and that it's aligned to strategic objectives. So the BI function almost acts as sort of gatekeepers, but also enablers. So, making sure that the right data is being looked at and people aren't chasing rabbits down holes and stuff like that, and keep people focused on what the big picture is, and making sure that the data is being used to answer those questions that improves the business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you both more.
outside of maybe the attention span thing, Will. I think some are even less than 8 seconds, at least my children. But if you think about it, I kind of look at it twofold. I look at it from a cultural perspective, and then obviously coming from the solution provider space, a technical perspective too. From the cultural perspective, I couldn't agree more with what Chris just said. I see the folks in the data organization with these organizations going to, marketing and kind of education around data, right? Like, how do we have data fluency within our organization? And what are the proper questions to ask and data insights to look for? And then, a little bit of a marketing element too on kind of selling the value of this and what they should be using it for to better their role and responsibility. I think we're definitely seeing that within our customer base. And then just from a sheer technical perspective, right? I mean, AI has, gotten into these software providers and into ThoughtSpot as well, via Spot IQ, just being able to actually bubble insights up to you that are relevant or anomalies in your data so that you can, no longer kind of pull that data from your analytics solution. It can be pushed to you, and you don't actually need to go down that rabbit hole like Chris talked about, and you can start relying on some AI algorithms to get data to you. It is helping people kind of avoid that as well.
I've definitely seen like our roles within our data space and within Just Eat have definitely taken on that sort of supporting and education and influencing roles as well. It's definitely played a part in our roles. I've seen that over the last 5-10 years of my career. And that's why you see the data culture, data literacy is such an important thing as well. They complement these products and tools.
I think something just to build on that I touched upon it earlier is that actually the next step is almost, okay, what happened, why it happened, and then what will happen, but also what do I do about it? And I think where these self-serve tools are going to head is actually the prescriptive side of things, actually providing almost the next best action for someone to take. Because often you can have a bunch of information in a nice graph, but actually, how do you make sense of that graph and what do you do about that graph is the real challenge.
Thanks, everyone. Really insightful and really pleased that you're able to share this use case with us. So thanks again. That actually brings us to the conclusion of our Experience Analytics virtual series. It's been a fantastic week with lots of great client stories, excellent questions from our audience, and also, of course, lots of thinking from our analytics partners. I want to take the opportunity to thank our analytics partners who make this event possible. So Google, Dataiku, Informatica, Snowflake, and ThoughtSpot, a big thank you from us.
And what a 12 months it's been. Who would have thought we'd end up in this virtual world when we originally started to plan the event? So all that's left to say is a big thank you to everyone who's made this possible. I've been Andy Gould.
And I've been Natalie Williams. And this has been Experience Analytics, the virtual series.
Goodbye.